What I'm about to say might upset some folks, but someone's got to say it. We've got this new Earth narrative, like there's a big time shift coming, or a mass ascension event is coming. And believe it or not, that's kind of creating a new form of religious trauma. Because it's the same story. You've got to be good, you've got to stay pure, you've got to do the work we prescribe to you, and salvation is going to come. But just like before, that keeps you locked into fear, into shame, into powerlessness. You know, they told you that a shift was coming, that a better timeline was just going to appear, and that if you stayed high vibe, you said the right mantras, you did the right meditations, you did the right spiritual practices that they're prescribing to you, that you'd wake up one day in a new reality. But here you are, feeling stuck, feeling, why hasn't this happened yet? Wondering if you did something wrong. And let me be blunt here. There is no escaping timelines. There is no big time shift event that's going to happen. And there's no mass ascension that's going to come save you from the misery of this world. That whole narrative, it's manipulative. And it could even amount to spiritual abuse. So let's talk about this. This big concept that you've heard circulating right now, that we gotta shift timelines, enter a better version of the world, join the new earth, and all you gotta do is raise your frequency and you're gonna get there. It sounds nice, right? But here's the truth. For so many people, that's become spiritual manipulation, because people are doing the right things. They're journaling, they're meditating, maybe they're exploring plant medicine, they're attending the retreats, but they're secretly asking, well, why haven't I shifted? Why is my life still a mess? Why does it seem like the world's still falling apart all around me? What am I doing wrong? And that question tends to spiral into self blame. It goes into feelings of unworthiness, into spiritual shame. And it's the same psychological wound we see in spiritual abuse. You're told to be a good boy, a good girl, follow the rules, you'll go to heaven, and you'll be one of the special chosen in the rapture on Judgment Day. But when nothing changes, you're thinking like, did I get left behind? Is there something wrong with me? Does God not love me? Am I just being ignored? Or am I broken? Does this sound familiar? Like in 2012, remember when 2012 was coming around? The Mayan calendar was coming to an end. There was this great galactic alignment that was going on, and people said, oh, this is it. This is the mass ascension. Get ready. And then it didn't happen. Paradise didn't just suddenly appear. And that left so many people wondering, like, did people ascend around me? Was I not worthy enough to join them? What did I do wrong? Maybe the leaders were wrong. Or is this all a big lie? It wasn't just disappointment, it was a dangerous lie. And sometimes that lie gets infused with like political affiliations. Well, see, you voted for the wrong person, and that means you're going to be stuck on this timeline. Oh, you're with that political party. See, you're just contributing to the negativity and the downfall of humanity. That is more of that fear-based narrative that's locking us into the shadow matrix. It's locking us into this negativity. But let's talk about a truth that a lot of these spiritual influences aren't going to tell you. There is never going to be a global ascension event. Let me say that again. There will never be a global ascension event. There is no cosmic rescue mission. There's you doing your work for you in a way that makes sense to you. Even if there are ascended beings, which there are, even if there are interdimensional entities, ascended masters, watching over us, they are prevented from directly interfering with our world, with our lives. They can only guide us. They can only influence us. They can't save us from ourselves. That means we are the ones that have to do our own work. Guess what? You don't escape timelines. You transform within it. And when you start to shift yourself your energy, your mind, your soul. You enter a new timeline of your own creation. And on that timeline, you'll meet other people who have done the same. It becomes like this resonant field, like a network of awakened individuals. And that's how the collective shift happens, from the inside out, one person at a time, doing their work for themselves. It's not selfish to do that. You're saving the world by doing your own work. But what does that work actually look like? What is it that you need to do? What's that path? And how do you start to actually shift timelines in real time? Well, I'm going to give you 4 steps to this. The first step, you got to face your darkness. You got to take a look into those hard to see places, those things that we don't want to look at, the shame, the suppressed rage. You need to identify your gifts that you were told to hide, the things that you love doing that other people told you, no, that's stupid, ridiculous. People don't do that. That's nonsense. And you bring that light of awareness and acceptance, and I mean acceptance, even to some of those awful things that we've said and done. You bring acceptance into those part of yourselves that you were taught to be afraid of. And that's just the beginning of the liberation. I know this work is uncomfortable. Sometimes it's scary. It means admitting we have a darkness inside. And when we do that, it can feel like failure. It could feel like, see, I'm not worthy. That's why I haven't transitioned. But we're told, just embrace the peace, love, and light, and it's going to go away. When you do that, when you embrace the peace, love, and light, and just try to no, I'm a peaceful, happy being, you're just locking in those shadows that drives that toxicity even deeper inside, and it just digs in and it stays. So you've got to bring that light of awareness and acceptance even to those shameful, uncomfortable, ugly parts of ourselves. We have to be aware of that. The second step is a little bit easier. It's that spiritual development, the stuff you're already doing. You're not just raising your vibe, you're raising your whole being. You're connecting with ascended beings, with guides, with teachers, with higher self. You're meditating to expand your mind, your consciousness. You're learning how to clear out those negative energies, energize your subtle bodies, and inhabit a higher frequency of you. That's what I mean, inhabiting a higher frequency of you. And be aware that this is a cumulative process and that there is no one spiritual cure for everything that ails you. And also be aware of what works for one person might not work for another. So maybe you've engaged in some spiritual practices that aren't right for you. That's okay. That's how you find it, is exploring. So keep exploring, keep experimenting, keep trying to find the right path and the right work that works for you, not what somebody else tells you works, because that's another part of the problem out there, I think. In my opinion, is people telling you this is the one right way, this is the one right technique, or even worse, I'm the only one that has the secrets that can save you. No, 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 no. You have to learn what's right for you. You have to do what works for you, and then keep doing it, and keep doing it, and keep doing it. And then you'll start to notice some shifts. The third step is like shadow transmutation, because this is where the real magic happens. Remember how we talked about the darkness and addressing the darkness? You don't clear that away. You become whole through that darkness. You use that pain as fuel. You learn how to alchemize your shadows into power, into purpose, into clarity. By learning how to heal those, you're helping to teach other people how to heal themselves too. And as you continue to do your shadow work and your spiritual work, it's a two-pronged process. You start to integrate everything about you, all the good, all the bad, the ugly, and you start to integrate your own peace, your own love, your own light. And by degrees, those shadows start to transmute. They start to integrate, and you start to discover your own authentic self, your own higher purpose, your reason for existing. And that leads you to the fourth step, self-actualization. Because eventually, you become your own purpose. Your life becomes a living invocation of your higher self. You speak, you move, you act as your own higher being. You're not just aligned with these high energies, you're embodied it. You're completely embodied by them. Basically, you're becoming a living master of your own path, an ascended master of your own way. Your life becomes a prayer to your own sacred self. Imagine what life is like living as a higher being. When you do that, you become like a beacon that shows others the way, and it draws you into creating that ideal timeline for yourself. And that's what a real timeline shift looks like. It's not escape, it's transmutation and embodiment. And I want you to know I help people do this every single day. My clients, my students, they don't just get clearings. They learn how to face their shadows. They learn how to transmute their pain into sacred purpose. They learn how to raise their energy and remember who they really are. For example, one of my clients came to me completely burned out. He was running a business that looked successful from the outside, but to him, he felt completely hollow, unfulfilled, lacking purpose, lacking direction, lacking any clarity in his life. And he followed all of that mindset advice. He built, the funnel, he read all the books, he did his meditation, he did his spiritual practice, but it was like something deep was missing. And that's when we started to work together. It wasn't about adding more or fixing something that was broken or solving what was wrong about him. It was about being willing to go deeper, to face the parts of him that always felt like a fraud, to really address that voice that says, well, you're only valuable when you perform in the ways other people want you to do, only when you're the person that you're expected to be. So we addressed that. We worked with it. We went deep, and we transmuted that shadow into sacred presence. And when we did that, everything changed. His voice, it's interesting, it softened and it deepened, but it carried more power. The offerings he gave to the world, they became clearer because they came from his truth. And that led to a growth in his income, but more importantly, he finally felt aligned. He felt truly fulfilled because he found his purpose and he started living it authentically. Today, he runs his business like a living temple. Every client interaction is sacred. Every choice he makes is intuitive. And he didn't wait for a new timeline to save him. He didn't wait for some mass ascension event. He didn't need salvation from some external source. He became his own new timeline. My clients, my students, they don't wait for a better world to show up. They become the world that they're waiting for. And when they do that, everything changes. Their business grows, their relationships deepen, and they feel alive again because they are finally aligned with their sacred purpose, with their authenticity. And if you're ready to stop waiting for some cosmic rescue, if you're ready to shift your timeline by becoming who you were born to be, then I want you to book a consultation. Just look in the link for description, and together, we're going to look at your current patterns. We're going to unravel what's been holding you back, and we're going to find that exact path that leads to your own timeline shift. So don't wait for the world to change. Change your world, and everything else is going to follow. So don't wait. Follow the link in the description, book your free consultation now, and be sure that you like and subscribe so that we're going to do more on shadow work, spiritual contact, and multidimensional mastery. Hail.